So then we are back with more understanding from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yirmiyahu the prophet. We find then during the time of the 61st chapter of Yirmiyahu, where then the Messiah, then the first section of the chapter, completes the spring feast. Then the second section is the autumn feast. And then we find ourselves during the time of restoration, where then whatsoever was learned in the past as far as tabernacling is concerned, and the layer of the Gentiles, how the world is going to be acting, and how then the kingdoms at first are going to act with each other, those were recorded a long time ago. So whatsoever the nations they learned during the time of the deceit is going to be discarded. In fact, the many scoundrelizations and the many deceits that the nations then created, those are going to get back on their faces. So let's evaluate during this time, because when we read the understanding of Daniel, where then the angel was speaking with Daniel and explaining those who are then scoundrels or filthy or dirty or liars or cheaters, those must remain dirty, liars, cheaters, and scoundrels. So let's understand the tone of the angel. Those who were from the time of Daniel until prior of the time of restoration. So let's be very clear. Those people who are the scoundrels, such as politicians, those people, they know they are not worth a ship's biscuit. Those people who have only a piece of paper, either senator or then some sort of a politician's title, those people, they are not worth a ship's biscuit. Understanding from the viewpoint of tabernacling and also trade, we can easily understand then the freighters taking charge of the movement of the trade of the planet. Scoundrels, they are not going to be anymore in line with trade. When the angel was speaking of those people, those who are filthy should remain filthy, those who are then faithful or then obedient should remain obedient, those were until the time of the ending of the deceit. Afterwards, we've changed for the time of the restoration. So we find ourselves then speaking regarding the angel when he was then delineating the time. Seal these words until the time of the end. Time of the end. Time where then tabernacling takes over once again. But the tabernacling is not only the tabernacling itself, because then the Gentiles are also included in the holy instructions. Not of tabernacling instructions, but the instructions of the time of the restoration, where then even the Gentiles, the heathen, would observe the mighty works of the Creator. So then, during this time where people, they have no time of wasting with scoundrels and liars, we understand governments of the world are mostly composed with liars and scoundrels. Otherwise the world would not be in such a dire straits where we are at the moment. So they are labeled politicians equals scoundrels. If a person is a nice politician or not nice politician, politician means scoundrels. But some people then they get upset because they are scoundrels. If they have a company simultaneously also working with the government, let's say a person is then a senator, but at the same time they have companies, then they can be labeled scoundrels, but not very scoundrel. So let's understand where it comes from. When America was then available and became a nation, working for the government were for those who were then very prosperous and very diligent with their own trades, were they not? So from the viewpoint of freighting, you understand trading. If you are only a politician, you are equal scoundrel. However, if you have a company, then you can shift yourself from being scoundrel and then be productive. So you can take the label out of your forward head. So then, let's evaluate what's coming in the near future. It was explained earlier regarding then the kingdom of the east, the kingdom of the north, and the kingdom of the south. We understand whatsoever was learned from the time of the 1,000 years of deceit won't be used. As far as what governments think of heaven or God or their perception of God is not going to be used. The Eurozone is breaking. The U.S. monetary system is breaking. Then we find the Chinese system obviously being the most important monetary system of the world. So let's understand it from a viewpoint where we already recognized America is going down. Let's say the next 36 months the government, as incompetent scoundrels as they are, as we understand, this government has no capability of understanding ABCs of trade. They have no idea what it means of having a shortwave radio station and listening very focused in what the world then transmits as far as trade. The government is blind, stupid, incompetent. So let's say we are speaking from after the 36 months, where then the U.S. monetary system is down. So then we find ourselves during a time where there is no more U.S. monetary system. The world has to be instantly replaced with another type of system. That's the Chinese system. So then, when the system becomes available, then people, they download the information on their computers. It is very similar as having eBay. You have the Bank of China is your PayPal. You have eBay, then you have the Chinese system. But not only you can do purchasing of materials, but you can do also investment at the same time. It's very simple. But then from a list of those materials where you can invest, those are very vast, very big. So then, when the Messiah later, he speaks even further in the future. Because we are at the moment in 71:6. Then the Messiah, further yet in the future, is saying to his people, come out of the system, my people, and resume your duties. Then we understand, chapter 1:8 of Galah belongs to our time. So then, what is the relationship then after the U.S. monetary system then breaks? Because of the incompetence of the government. Let's understand what takes place. Then, freighting is going to be the utmost. People are going to order from online. Because our own subsystem then is destroyed. You have to have a system from abroad to link up the many other destroyed subsystems. That's why when you understand then the Bank of China linking up with HSBC, you find the Bank of China linking up with Citigroup, the situation related with the house busting in 2008, the Chinese system bought it, not because it was a great deal, in fact it was a piece of junk of a deal, but they got the system. When their system then takes over, people can simply pay their dues or pay their mortgages via the Chinese system. Very simple. And then, not only this, but the demand for materials and fabricated items, or then manufacturing, it is absolutely multiplied by many numbers. So then, let's evaluate our lack of understanding as far as our ports are concerned. How are the ports then be able to handle so many ships coming at the same time, so many cargo aircrafts coming at the same time, and people to do the work of these parcels? The government is incompetent. They have not prepared our country. Thus far, the government is enjoying themselves and their incompetencies, and the government simply does not know how to do the work. How are they going through those so many packages? Because we have to understand, the system coming requires a space. Then the situation then goes in the hand of the freighters. Unfortunately, then the freighters, after doing so much diligent work, then at the end of these 36 months, because of the incompetence of the government, then they have to earn these problems at the end of this time. They have to come up with a plan to get their freighting system lined up with the Chinese system, and then make sure the services of the country, at least the basics, then they can cover. During this time, ships are coming. During this time, you have to have crane operators. During this time, you can work 24/7 in the line of ships waiting to be docked. It is absolutely astronomical. Then the people are not going to be very patient or then very polite in waiting for their parcels. Because the country is going to be in uproar, panic everywhere, retailers out of work, and people ordering parcels for their own work. Some of the trades, they have to remain on top. They're not going to be like government people, scoundrels going underground as reptiles. They must remain on the surface. And there they are, ordering their products via the system, and then the product's not delivered. They are going to have a lot of people with a heated head, and it's not going to be nice. However, then the freighters have to work with the local governments to try to get the basics lined up at least. Now, let's understand this factor. Then the government can't pay their people. They have no revenue coming in. They have no tracking of the packages. It's simply they can pay then the basic services. How are then the freighters going to take care of so many containers and ships and aircrafts and trucks at the same time? The government has proven incompetent. So the freighters of the earth, they don't have the privilege of, oh, can I talk to the government? Don't even go there. Those people are scoundrels. They don't care. So then the freighters of the earth must start then having a plan of their own. Because thus far, if you are a wise person, obviously you would have then a shortwave radio in your home where you can listen the information coming from abroad. When you tune in, for instance, Radio Australia, Radio New Zealand, Radio China International, and the frequencies of the Pacific, they are humming with information from everywhere, from every aspect of governments of the Pacific. We unfortunately have a government that has isolated itself. The government has a prideful atmosphere where people, they get isolated from the reality of the world. Always mocking, always with the superiority of a condescending spirit. But then the time does not let anymore to continue on with this junk. We've got 36 months to get our taxation system in exact standards. Or then the freighters are going to take most of the burden in the future, because the services must be active. However, there won't be any more U.S. monetary system or a subsystem where they can maintain themselves. And if you are a wise person, the government is going to try to go underground. How is it going to work? It's a very sobering question, because many people, they have their inability of understanding how the world is working. They are so long with this junk American system that never worked. It only worked after the Great War, where then people, they were educated in production. Then became religious, and then from then on was down every time. And we are nearly ruining ourselves. We've got 36 months to get the job done. You turn on the computer, you watch the politics of the country, it is absolutely junk. It's worse than a circus. President speaking of gun control, then you find vice president involved with some other junk and sequestration of some sort. And then pointing fingers at each other, and all because GOP, this and that and the other, all because the right wing with the left, and then Republicans and Democrats. The whole situation is a piece of crap. The government has proven from A to Z they are incompetent. And then for some reason, then the previous president shows up on camera out of duty. What has to do President Bush with our existing economy? He doesn't belong in there. He's out of duty. If our president does not know how to do the job, give the position to somebody else. It's very simple. He doesn't understand the way the world's trade works. Then he has to get out of there. Myself, I vote for him because I thought he would have some more industry background learning. From the time he was re-elected, he would then study trade. Thus far, he has no clue. So why is he continue on with this novel? If he does not know how to do the job, leave the position for somebody else. Get somebody else over there with a trades knowledge. A person that knows how to do trade with China, lined up with the Asian market, preparing the nation, updating our ports, updating our transportation system, working our backlogs, understanding instant taxation system per container, per parcel. If he doesn't know how to do the job, leave the position. Give it to somebody else. Because it is crazy. The world then is lining up itself for the new system. The shortwave radio from the Pacific is humming with information. You find entire realms, for instance, the realm of Australia, the realm of New Zealand, updating their backlogs. They have a new broadband system, the same system used in banking. It's extremely fast for the reasons of transactions. And the world is coming via the Pacific, and we are wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around. Is either gun control of some sort, NRA novel, or then sequestration junk, or then you have the Speaker of the House speaking, shut down the government. It's the same old scoundrels every time, wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around. And then you find the BRICS, Brazil, Soviet Union, you find China, India, and South Africa already lining up, Bank of China already linking up the system, and we are wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around. Then we find the Eurozone, the Eurozone. There they are, wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around. And unfortunately, Great Britain got caught in the midst of the Eurozone also. Not directly monetarily speaking, but because of their system. There they are, wasting their time going around over there in Europe, travel around for no reason, where they should have direct link with the Bank of China and the Asian market. But then we find America again wallowing around. Watch the videos. It's only junk. So then we are in 71.6. The government system then is down, and then the freighters have to pick up the tab. In other words, they have to come up with an idea of then having the basic services, such as electrician or electricity, maintenance of this electrical system, you have to have electricians, plumbing, so people have water, and come up with the basics. And then going through many ships at the harbor, at the same time, you have to take care of the security also. Because when they start ordering from China without having a tracking system, they don't know what's coming in the box. Because it's ordered from a system that is secluded. There are items you can buy via eBay from overseas, items not inspected. Do you understand? If you buy a step-down transformer from 220 to 110, you have to have the basics, at least UL underwriters listed. Some items, they are not even inspected anymore. They have no stamp. They have no identification. If it's not tracked properly and comes to our country, can you understand what's coming via mail then or via parcels in the future? You can name it. Some of them, drugs, arms, pharmaceutical products. And the government can maintain a track because they are incompetent. That's why from this day until the next 36 months, every package coming to our country must be labeled and described and properly taxed. But then the government does not know how to do the job. They don't know how to do it. The government is retarded. Any person with a half a brain, half of understanding, you can say, we have to have a system in our government where then when the people, they order products online, do you understand? Oh yes, I understand. You have to have a computer, then you log on the computer with the basic knowledge of purchasing. Then you have a link with a bank where you have funding. You understand? Absolutely. Then when you make a purchase, there the company, they have to generate a shipment label, where it has then the item number, description, the price of the product, and then instant taxation. Do you understand? Absolutely. So why is that not done yet? When we have a government, when they do understand this must be done, then we have a time of 36 months to make sure the job gets done at the end of it. Now, when you speak with a government that is ignorant, inflated with junky power, ignorant, abusive, and doesn't care, how can we, the people, then go around these incompetent junks and then make a deal with the freighters? Because the freighters do understand normal people. If you say our government must have an instant taxation system and it starts with labeling, do you understand? Absolutely, it's very simple. But they are not able to do it because they are incompetent. So not only we have the trouble of not having enough jobs, the system is breaking, there is no tracking, real tracking. We have a very short time to get the system updated and the job doesn't get done. When you listen to politics, it's always the same junk. Sequestration, government shutdown, or gun control, or then NRA, of some sort. The situation is, how are they speaking of NRA if NRA is then Army Auxiliary? What is the relation with some people having guns, going to a learning establishment, and then gun down the people? Isn't that job for the police? Was it not NRA in order to have then people trained with arms, so then in the event of a future draft, they would have a list of people with the potential soldiers? Now, the government has mixed NRA with the police. What is the link? Scoundrels are dealt with the police. NRA, they trained people, civilians, for future use for the army. But because the government is incompetent, they have to try to find some sort of a novel. NRA then gets in a spotlight. And where is the taxation system? I don't care if the President Bush, his father, his mother, or we don't even know why Bush is over there in the government. He's out of duty. When a soldier is discharged from the service, can later the soldier go in a headquarters, oh, how are you, going over there and having a talk with the general? Oh, how are you? No, you're out of duty, you are gone. Bush is gone. He's not part of the government anymore. And then this Cheney guy, another scoundrel involved with the BP leakage over there near to destroy the ocean. Huge conspiracy. The guy is a scoundrel. And making headlines in the government for what reason? Does he understand taxation? Or has to pick up that old man, stupid? Say, you know what? We have to have a taxation system via labeling. Do you understand? Let's go lower. Do you know what a computer is? There is a situation dealing with elderly, but when the elderly are stupid, they don't understand what it takes to get the job done, they have to get the F out of there. The time is very short and the work is very great. Now the main question is, why are these elderly people stupid and not capable of straightening out our system? Why are they doing over there in power for? Either they understand what the economy must have instant taxation system. You, older person, do you understand this? No. Get a F out of there. You don't belong there. Your time does not fit with this requirement. Place another person over there with a computer knowledge and get the job done. We don't have time to pick up elderly people by the hand. They say, do you know what a computer is? Do you know what a keyboard is? Do you know what a monitor is? We don't have time to teach you. If you have a position of authority and important, you don't know how to deal with a computer, you don't belong in the government anymore. Retire. Yeah, because the senior citizen, they only want to have a check at the end of the month. Some of them don't even understand how to work a computer. Then they get these older people over there from governments before Bush. Bush is old. What is he doing in the government? And then when you listen to the shortwave radio station from the Pacific, God Almighty, there is a system coming absolutely as a freight liner with no control. It is coming so strong, and there are indications of systems already being updated and backlogs of realms, because the system does not let your expenses be above your earnings. In America is wallowing around, wallowing around, wallowing around. Then you find junky politicians of the past, Bush, you find Cheney, you find these people from older governments lining up themselves, and then you find also Clinton. These people are out of duty. If they don't understand what it takes to get the system fixed, they don't even go near the White House. Go away and enjoy your retirement. And if you are old and you are in the White House and you don't understand a computer, you should not be there anymore. I don't care if you are a senior. If you have 50 years of politics, you don't understand what it takes to get it fixed, get the heck out of there. With a total respect. But you don't understand what it takes to get the system fixed. However, when it comes to shortly 36 months, I don't want your face sad down, sack of face, sad sack. I didn't get my check. Oh, no wonder. You expect then, doing the same senior junkie as done in the past, and you expect a paycheck in the future when there is a monstrosity of a system, absolutely 100% precise, you don't have a clue how to turn on your computer? Where's my check? Here's what you can do. Go live with your family and then raise some chickens. That's your check. You belong to the older you go. So then we have 36 months to get our taxation system exact standards. Every time a product comes to our country, must be tracked. And when the system becomes available, there are people that are going to have 12 digits of funding in the system, and those digits can't be tracked. The only way of tracking is when a label is printed. Then we understand the Messiah and the freighters of the earth. Do you understand why? But then the government, as incompetent as they are, they like to enjoy each other's incompetence. Then the time is gone, 36 months is gone, package is not tracked. How are the freighters going to deal with it? Because shifts from the government to the freighters. Because the Messiah already said the freighters of the earth are in charge. So if the freighters of our country, they don't start be more vocal, they have to pick up the tab at the end. And the government, they're going underground. As reptiles and incompetent as they are. So with the respect due you, if you are an old person, you have 50 years of work for the government. If you don't understand the computer and trade, you must leave. You don't belong in the government. Our time does not let you anymore with your old junk. Either you update your data extremely fast, or you don't belong in the government. You have to pick. This is not a confrontation of your personality. It's your lack of knowledge. The lack of knowledge of this time requires people with a computer trades knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, the time is very short. We are during a dangerous time. You don't belong in the government. Find a person with a trades knowledge and get these elderly people out of the government. There is no more time for being merciful, understanding, when the time does not let anymore. No computer knowledge out of the government. Because the entire system must be then integrated with the freighters. Instant taxation system. Elderly people, they don't understand, they are in the government, out. President does not know how to do the work, out. And he has shown he does not know the work. He doesn't know. What he knows how to do, he only walks around in those companies. And he wants to walk around as a big shot. He does not have industry background. And obviously he can't learn it. Then the situation is so bad, either sequestration or shut down the government or gun control or some sort of other junk NRA. Then you find Dick Cheney, scoundrel of the past, mixing up with the government. You find another president doesn't belong there anymore. Then you find Clinton doesn't belong in the government anymore, making a feast of the entire situation. And these people, we thought they were at least smart. No, they are stupid. The reason why future projects of new technologies are going to flow through the Soviet Union, it's because it's going to avoid these older, elderly, stupid people. Do you understand? You have China, factory of the world. You have the Soviet Union, shortly becoming socialist, because China is socialist. When you read the 11th chapter of Daniel, what do you find? The kingdom of the north would be stronger than the former. What can you understand? They were socialists. So they are going to be socialists. So every new project coming in the market goes to the north first, because they are very tough. If you are an elderly person, you don't understand a computer, you have no knowledge of trade, and if you have the courage of go over there in the northern kingdom and you say to Mr. Putin, we have this idea, do you have a computer knowledge? No. What do you have? No more time for BS. That's why you find then the leader of the BRICS, the leader of the most important markets of this time, the leader of the BRICS is Soviet. What can you deduce? If you are an elderly person, you are in a position of responsibility and you do not have the knowledge of the trade of the world, you don't belong there anymore. You are going to go straight to China. China won't receive you anymore. Has to go through the Soviet Union. Because China won't have any more time to deal with the country after country and their religions and their junkies. What they want is a strong deal on their desks. Because of the volume. Not against of any kind of an elderly person, but when the time is so short and the government is a dire straits, and you have elderly people over there exercising power and being stupid at the same time, lacking knowledge of the existing trade, they simply don't belong there. They have to be told in their faces, you say, you know what, you are a nice person, you have done a nice job, but you do not have the trade's knowledge of this near future. Please give up your position. We do not have time anymore. The elderly, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the answers. But for sure they want an answer of their checks in the future. And if this updating does not get done at the moment, they won't have a check in the future.